Okay guys, so I'm finally able to get out here and cast around the reel of the moment, the new Shimano SLX DC. So I got it strung up with 10-pound mono, and basically what I'm going to focus on is to see if this thing has gained more spool control over the CURADO DC, because that was the one thing that I remembered about the CURADO DC, is that it was lacking that DC spool control of the other DC reels that I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the spool tension to just minimize the side-to-side play, just like it says in the Shimano instructions. Now the spool tension knob, luckily, is very smooth to turn. There we go. All right, so we're going to start off with setting number 4, and I forgot to tie a lure on. We're going to start off with this Lucky Craft Gunfish. It's the I believe it's a 78. It's probably about 3/8 of an ounce, almost half an ounce. Okay, first cast on setting number 4. All right, just as expected, spool perfectly controlled. This is the strongest brake setting. Distance was pretty decent. I'm pretty surprised at that distance. It's probably going out about 80 feet, maybe 90 feet. Okay, let's go down to 3, which is the fluorocarbon setting. Now I remember with the CURADO DC, it absolutely had horrible spool control on fluoro casting monofilament line. Now if you want to check out that video, it's the CURADO DC on the water impressions versus CURADO K. And let's see what this SLX can do. Oh shit. Okay, so looks like it's the same with the SLX. The lure went out there a really long way, and I was just barely trying to cast it out there. As you saw, we had that major blow up on the last half of the cast. It looked like it was going to handle it, but then all of a sudden on that second part of the cast, it just blew up. So maybe I need to let this line settle on the spool. So I'm going to cast this around on 4 a few more times, and then try setting 3 again. Okay, let's try fluorocarbon mode again. Okay, that was much better. As you can see, there was no fluff up. Maybe the line did need to settle on the spool. Oh, there we go. We have that blow up again. So that's pretty disappointing. But the casting distance is impressive. Now the reason I'm saying that is because on my METANIUM DC, my Scorpion DC, my ANTARES DC, if you put it in fluorocarbon mode, you won't see one loop, one coil on the spool, and that's when they're casting any kind of line, whether it be mono, fluoro, braid. So the fact that this IDC4 can't seem to handle easy casting monofilament in the fluorocarbon mode is kind of an enigma. But it casts a long damn way. Now, in case you didn't know, this is a 6'8" Shimano Bantam medium. Okay, so we're done with fluorocarbon mode. Let's go into the braid mono mode, which is setting number 2. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it looks like we have a CURADO DC 2.0 right here. So I suspect, just like the CURADO DC, you're probably going to have to tighten this spool tension up to get that overrun taken care of. Okay, let's try one more time. And we're gonna go with the wind this time. See if that makes a difference. Okay, you still saw loops there. You saw some fluffing in the middle of the cast, but thankfully the cast was long enough that it was able to work itself out towards the end there. So that is what I mean by this IDC4 is very un-DC-like compared to the more expensive JDM DC reels. Okay, so it's very inconsistent. So some casts are fine, and then there's some casts where the spool overruns. Okay, so now that we've established that this thing has pretty much the same, I guess, braking profile as the CURADO DC, let's see what the casting range on this SLX is. Okay guys, so I've strung up a lure that is, I think, probably a little bit over 1/8 of an ounce. I'll put the picture of the weight on the scale for you. And let's see if this SLX DC can handle this bait finesse type lure. I'm going to put the brake setting to 4, the maximum setting. And here we go. All right, not bad. It probably went out there probably 30 feet. Remember, this is a pretty heavy spool. You're talking over 20 grams, probably closer to 30, 35 grams with all this line. Okay, so it can do upper end bait finesse type weights in a pinch. Now, of course, this rod is not really suited for this weight lure, but that's pretty impressive. And I credit those DC brakes. All right, let's see if we can get out any farther. All right, so you're probably looking at close to 50 foot for this this tiny lure here. Now let's see if the other modes can handle it. I doubt it, but let's try it out. All right, well, that's a big surprise right there. I expected the spool to just blow up. But fluorocarbon mode looks like it can handle this tiny lure. Let's try again. Oh, I saw a couple of coils there, but the lure is going out a tad bit farther. Okay, let's see if we can go down to 2 Yeah, the spool just blew up. Okay, we're gonna try one more time in the braid mono mode. Okay, so I'm thinking it's just all dependent on your cast stroke. As you can see, that cast was perfect. If you get the spool speed up too much, then it really doesn't like it. So you kind of got to give it a smooth, easy stroke instead of whip it out there. There you go. So I'm not really whipping it out there that hard, and the spool is perfect. It's going out there probably around 50 foot. So that's definitely doable for this teeny tiny lure. Now put it on a bait finesse rod, then I expect that distance to go up probably close to 10 foot. Okay, now let's see if the #1 mode can handle it. I know we forgot to test the extreme distance mode with that other lure. I just didn't want to blow the spool up so bad that I would have to go home, because I drove like an hour away to be able to find this spot out here, because most of my lakes that are close by are just packed with weekend boaters. Oh shit. Yep, not even gonna try that again. Okay, so we're really gonna push the limits of this SLX DC, and we're gonna be throwing this little 2-gram little jerkbait minnow. With the snap swivel, you're probably looking at about 2.1 or 2.2 grams total. All right, let's see what this SLX can do. I do remember testing out the Shimano Antares A with similar lures on the same rod, same line, and it handled it really good. Very impressive. So let's see what this budget DC can do. So we're going to go back to 4 on the dial. Okay. So spool control was there, as you saw, but the distance probably didn't even go 20 foot. Let's do an overhead, see if that helps. Okay, that helped a little. Probably went out there about 30 foot. So far I'm impressed. So if you are in a bind, you want to do some creek fishing, then this SLX will work in a pinch, especially if you don't fill up all the line, I'm assuming. So let's go down to 3. Okay, distance didn't go up that much, if any. Okay, distance went up a little bit. Probably still hitting about 30, 35 foot. Let's go to 2 on the dial. Okay, spool control was good. All right, I'm impressed. Literally 2.2 gram, 2.3 gram lure is being cast pretty easily on this SLX DC. Okay, let's do one try on the #1 setting. And I know this is gonna be bad, but I just gotta find out. Oh shit. Yep, it's a no-go, as expected. Okay guys, so I've just been casting around this SLX DC for a few minutes off camera. I went back to the Lucky Craft Gunfish, and I think I figured something out. So apparently this IDC4, its braking profile is very heavy at the beginning of the cast, kind of like centrifugal brakes, and it kind of tapers off at the tail end. And sometimes that's what's causing the problem, because the overruns usually come on the last half of the cast from my observations. So I'm on the brake setting of 2 now, which is the braid mono, and it's bombing a long way, and I can get a lot of good clean casts, but every once in a while this thing will blow up towards the tail end of the cast. So that's why with the CURADO DC, a lot of people reported that the spool is much better controlled when you tighten up the spool tension to take care of that the overruns that happen on the last half of the cast. So apparently the tune of the SLX is exactly the same as the CURADO. See, with a Scorpion DC or METANIUM DC, that wouldn't have happened. Okay, see there? It was pretty much the exact same cast, but the spool didn't blow up to the point where I had a bird's nest. It fluffed up towards the last half of the cast, but it sorted itself out. So my conclusion is that this SLX DC is pretty much the CURADO DC with a little bit cheaper components. So that cast probably went at least 50 yards. Not too bad for only a 3/8 ounce lure. So this thing will bomb. And as I said in the tabletop review, what reel from the CURADO DC down is going to be able to stand up to this thing when it comes to casting? Will the new TATULA be able to do it with the long cast spool? I guess we're going to find out. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten the spool tension up to the point where when the lure hits the ground, there's only a couple of loops. Okay, so a little bit looser than that. Okay, now let's see how the spool behaves. Still in brake setting number 2. All right, distance was definitely short. I might have tightened the spool tension too much, but let's do a few more casts, see if the spool will blow up. Nope, distance was better, and I didn't even have to stop the spool with my thumb when the lure hit the water. But I'm probably losing about 10 foot of distance with that, so I'm thinking I can loosen up the spool tension some more and gain that distance back. Let's do one more. All right, there we go. Okay, so now that we've tightened the spool tension, I'm going to see if we can actually use the extreme distance mode setting, which is the number 1. Let's see what happens now. All right. You saw that blow up there towards the middle to last part of the cast that sorted itself out. Now if I had the spool tension set like the instructions, that spool would have blown up almost immediately. Damn, that went a long way. Okay, we're going to do one more cast in extreme distance mode. Alright, distance wasn't super far, but spool was more controlled.